Do it.
Fantastic. Thank you all for joining us. I know the entire hype about GenAI, so we're not going to bore to death another 30 minutes. We'll try to keep it interactive. The topic is all about rise above the hype. How do we build business value with AI? And I'm delighted to say that I've got a partner, Jonny Pellegrino, an incredible person at Nokia who brings a combination of two different types of leadership. One from the culinary world and then the corporate world at Nokia. He has had a successful career, beginning from Siemens, then to Nokia, and he currently is the vice president for Nokia at Nokia Business Services, and he's the CTO. What's interesting, he's running a chain of restaurants too in Madrid, and that too in Italian.
That's why we noticed.
So I'm intrigued and I'm curious, okay?
Hey, thanks a lot, Imran. I'm very, very pleased to be here, that you asked me to be on the stage with you, with Wipro, our partner.
So Jonny, let's engage the audience, okay? And I'm curious, how do you balance it? I mean, we do 9 to 6, opening with mails, teams. How do you nourish your soul with your entrepreneurial journey of food business and then your corporate career? So what's the ingredient?
Yeah, so sometimes I ask myself, a day has only 24 hours, and I try to sleep at least 6. So what do I do the rest of the time? Now, frankly speaking, I try to drive all what I do with passion. I think I always ask myself, are you in the right game? If you do something without satisfaction or without passion, you get demotivated and you don't find the energy to drive that. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I think I'm in the right game, and I think the trust that Nokia has put on my shoulder is something that is very rewarding. But also, I like to do things I love. I love gastronomy. I love Italian food. So I said, hey, instead of complaining of bad food, hey, why don't try to do something? So 10 years ago, we decided to do it. And with passion and drive, we said, let's do it. And today, we have already, with my partners, 8 restaurants and 2 to open this year. So it has been an interesting way. And you know what I like as well is that allow me to balance the corporate world where we talk about big figures and things that need to take a lot of time to make a decision and so on. And then when you go in my restaurant chain, I mean, you take a decision after 1 or 2 weeks, they're executed. So it's also allowing me to understand, hey, how we can drive speed, how we can drive momentum, and applying that also in the corporate world to try to see, hey, how we can make it happen quicker.
Fantastic. So guys, you know the ingredients. You need to have a chain of restaurants along with your corporate world. It's fascinating, Jonny. Now, Nokia and Wipro have been partners for a long time, and we've had a very transformative journey over the last 2 decades, I would say. So thank you for that. Now, I want to pick up a topic which is a step before, the word of GenAI, and I'm sure people would have listened to too many things around it. Automation is something that was being driven for the last 6, 7 years now. Intelligent automation. So if you look back when we started the transformation journey, what do you think worked and did not work for this journey?
No, I think it's a very, very good question, because I think something that I strongly believe, automation is still playing a role today. Even we talk, all of us, about artificial intelligence, there are still a lot of process there out that can be optimized. But I do believe the major change that happens and where we start to see the major benefit of automation has been really when we stop looking just on which task can we automate, but really looking on a process, on a sub-process that we selected then a partners, in the case Wipro, to say how they can bring the glue across all these different elements of a process. And that's where the transformation really start to bring the major benefit thanks to automation. It's really to having a partner you trust, having partners that understand the issue, that can innovate together with you, and then driving a process. And this process also need to keep in mind the user of that process. And most of the time, the BPO partners are also a key user of those process. So that's why I think transformation, automation, and really sub-process outsourcing is what brings the right formula to generate benefits.
And Jonny, when we look at the demand that's there for automation, there's always a very thin line between cost versus transformation, and then there is an ROI. Okay. So the biggest promise of automation was it'll bring huge cost savings. How do you view the impact of automation across the processes, specifically in source to pay, the one that you've been leading for almost 5 years now? The two crucial dimensions of cost versus transformation. How do you see that? Did it give that ROI? Is there meat in it?
Yeah, no, indeed. I mean, before taking the role as CTO, I was leading the unit source to pay. And when I took over the team back in 2021, 2020, there was this time just during the COVID period. I really looked at that and said, hey, how we can really drive this transformation? And when I start looking, we still had this old question, should we do it internally? Should we do it with the BPO partners and so on? And we said, hey, we are not aggressive enough. I said how we can achieve those elements of savings. And by really redesigning what is core to us and what is context, what really drives value for us, how I can keep my people, really the internal people, really thinking how we can generate more value for our stakeholder, which are the different business units within Nokia. I said, what is the remaining part where I need to have a partner? And together with Wipro, we embark on that journey. And we're starting really increasing the scope of source to pay. I remember before we had roundabout ratio 35-40% external outsourced and 55-60% internal. And today we are completely on the opposite way. I think considering the last wave we did together, we are reaching a level of 65% within Wipro and the remaining 35% within Nokia. And I think this has been for me the evolution that we have reached with great result. 25% of cost savings within 3 years, 40% less headcount within our organization in Nokia. Of course, more headcount growing up within Wipro, but also a key success factor has been the customer experience, the user experience of our processes, the way we're running account payable, the era, the way we have been able to increase the touchless rate, for example, in account payable, has been amazing, going from a 45% now reaching more than 65%, and with a clear ambition to go to 75%. So I think this is for me a journey that needs to start with a partner, and thanks the trust that you build over the year is what allows you to get the result.
Absolutely. I mean, and the way you put it, Jonny, that we are still in a journey. Yeah. It's not that we are 100% from 65. What we see, we still. So there are times that we see that we've hit the ceiling, but then there are certain processes we keep coming out, whether it is order to cash or source to pay, or for that matter, R2R. But now that automation has built, is already kicking in, the journey is there. We have another, we were in the G6 debate, we were talking about how the intervention, and there's been so many discussions all day about GenAI. Okay, now it is beginning to have a significant impact in the business. We have seen that. Within Wipro, we are proud to say that we have trained almost 240,000 people. We have invested about $1.4 billion, but the fact is there is much to do. And when we look at some of the reports from analysts or advisors, we're talking about around some 1,200 case studies have already been deployed. Some out of that, 27% is still is in full-fledged production. A lot of reports, research are coming out. From a GBS standpoint, do you see how the journey that you guys have already taken on to GenAI? Where do you see the impact? Do you see, because GBS for you, it's a long era of service that you're currently running. Where do you see it's going to help you?
I think I got very inspired by what we do also for our customer. I mean, our key customer in the telecom industry, carrier service provider and so on, the CSP, they also need artificial intelligence or generative artificial intelligence to simplify the management of their network. And there Nokia is investing very massively to help our customer to simplify the operation. So by even creating our own artificial intelligence engine. So that's really a very important element. But also the strategy that we have selected that you have chosen at Nokia is really to start sensing the networks, thinking and acting. And that's exactly what we're going to do in GBS. We have invested quite a lot in the last years in sensing what happened into our process, thanks to technology like process mining, data mining, and creating very strong and solid data management, data governance. But also we have done a lot in acting, how we can generate automated operation and so on. So today, Gen AI going to bring the middle piece that was missing, the thinking. So really allowing us to connect all the process of sensing, thinking, and acting. If I look from a use case perspective, we have around about 50 use cases already identified from financial services, source to pay, from employee services, and so on. So we are having already a first set of use case, and now going to come to us really to understand which kind of infrastructure we are doing. We are piloting different technologies, piloting our own Nokia GPT, piloting technologies like the one from Microsoft, Copilot, and so on, but also assessing, do we have specific artificial intelligence engine that can help us in specific area, for example, in contract management and so on. So it's a journey that we have started with concrete use case, and the first one that we are already getting live, and a lot of them also in travel management, that we're also going to simplify the user experience of the traveler thanks to artificial intelligence.
Great. There's something that I picked up, thinking, acting, sensing, thinking, acting.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, Jonny, if you look at the way we are adopting, and you've seen the process that we have picked up processes where we can apply. There is a logic to it. There is a method. There's a method to the madness. But the fact is, while we are doing it for our customers, there's a big demand from our internal employees, which is, how can you make my experience better? When we address some of the new batches coming in from training, the millennials, the Gen Zs, the first ask is, can I join something on my app? It's very, and they want it intuitive. They want to have a very simple interaction where they don't want to search for people. So from an employee experience perspective, okay, and the different business domains that we are already cultivating, we are ensuring that, how we bring the perspective. So anything that you feel from Nokia's perspective, you guys want to drive an employee experience, that generative AI can actually change the way we are thinking, can we do it for our employees as well, rather only for our customers?
Mm-hmm. No, interesting. I take an example that when I took over the S2P units back a couple of years ago, I start to see a lot of complication, just to order headsets. Even a normal employee is ordering a headset maybe every 2 years, ordering a phone every 2 years. And in order to be able to order that, he had to go on a learning page, making a course of 45 minutes to know how to use Ariba. I said, guys, this is not about user experience. We are a lot of people coming from a private area. They go on Amazon.com, they order and they get it. So this has been for me always the North Star, to say, we never asked you anybody to do a training how to order on Amazon. So for me, the interface, the digitalization of the sourcing channel, the facilitation that we need to provide, the flexibility that we need to provide, but also the trust that people are going to make the right decision. Because opening Amazon Business, for example, was a new digital channel that we are opening within Nokia, but also very important to provide a better user experience. But as well, we had to put in place all the control needed for audit and avoiding, let's say, misbehavior. But I think if we are able to have this North Star for all what we do, the Booking.com experience as well. So this is where we need to aim to, and I think for the employees to gain this facility, then they are feeling they are also in a company that use technology. And Nokia, the technology company, we cannot provide an experience to our employees that it's from another century. So it's very important for us that we have those, let's say, business to consumer provider experience also within the B2B, within the enterprise space.
Fantastic. That's again, Jonny. It's a balance between how much can you push, how early can you push. Okay, so there is a demand, there is an increasing demand. Now, when we look at some of the processes that we have picked up, and you have spent several years in digitizing the entire source to pay, from the days that we remember that there were so many transactions, everything was manual. Now, while you're steering that digitalization of your sourcing channels in the source to pay area, Nokia, Can you share some stride for the audience to ensure that AI in the source to pay world, what are the areas that we have already picked up? Some short terms one there are which are low hanging fruits, and then there is a long term wherein we have to do some investment. So can you share some strides on these S2P journey?
Yeah, indeed. I do believe one of the first one was account payable. We are Nokia is actually a sum of multiple company we acquired over the last 20 years, and of course every company we acquire different ERP, different process, and so on. And we had up to 16 different channels how to get an invoice. So we said, hey, how we can simplify that? But also how we can make sure that we are dispatching the invoice or the order to the right ERP. And that's what's very important for us. So we said, hey, that's the first way where we're going to introduce artificial intelligence in order to be able to drive simplification and better user experience for the supplier as well. Then another space that today we are also looking very carefully is all the area of contract management. So how we can generate a first contract in a very short period of time. And the last point, which is for me very important, anything that you do, that you really communicate clearly to the employees, that is not about headcount reduction, that is really about increasing the capacity. If I think for contract management, how we can deliver a better contract with higher quality in a shorter period of time, so that we are providing a better service to our customer, our internal business unit, but also allowing to have a better service and a more satisfied contract manager that don't have procrastinating all the contracts they are piling up on their desk. So I think this is a kind of focus area that we have today. And another area is also how we can interconnect all the process end to end in terms of experience. For example, for the traveler, when you're requesting, when you're booking, and you are expensing that, how we can avoid to ask 3-4 times the same questions, how we can avoid to populate how much this travel will cost by using artificial intelligence, considering the demand that they are in the market. So all those data are available. All the behavior of a traveler are available. So that we say, hey, these are the first areas. And the last point that in the traveler we are also investing now is also in the audit of all the expense claim, how we can avoid the manual auditing of expense claim. So there is different area in the source to pay that we are focusing on. That part of the 50 use case that I mentioned earlier. And yeah, we look forward in all the area, employee services, cash collection, corporate service, and so on.
Fantastic. Now, Jonny, I picked up, you talked about data, okay, and we've been talking about it. We have been trying to do different ways how we can use it. And one of the prime source of getting a successful project or a POC or implementation of Gen AI is data. And Nokia, with the churn of data that you guys manage, not only from your customers, but the processes that you're running, where do you think that it is, so this one is storage of data, one is how do you leverage that? Where do you think is it insights as a service you can bring up, or something around that those data points can help you fix your processes or the buying cycles or the buying pattern of the customer? So how do you leverage that data with the access that you've got?
Yeah, so I think here with generative artificial intelligence, that's another game we are entering in. Of course, you need to set up a clear data strategy. What are really the master data you need for all of the process, where we need to have a very solid governance and with a solid management of those data. But then we have all the operational data that are generated from every service unit or generated from process mining that have a lot of additional information can be used. So I think that's where we have those source of data that, thanks to artificial intelligence, can really help us to make even more wise decision. So that's one element. But that way I see the next steps is also if you don't have a set of data, how we can use generative artificial intelligence to generate a new set of data. And think about all the screening that need to happen before you are allowed to onboarding a vendor. They are massive. And now with sustainability, with risk, anti-sanction, all of that are coming, adding more requests. So are we able to get all the data? No. But that's where generative AI is going to bring also an advantage for us to speed up the process of onboarding of a vendor, for example.
Great. Now let me quiz you, Jonny. Okay. The fact is, you're on a kitchen, actually a kitchen for your culinary skills that you have, the business that you're running. You do financial reporting and performance. Sustainability is very key to you. STP digitalization, you have made a mark in Nokia. So how do you leverage all of this entire learnings of your corporate business back to your kitchen? How do you innovate your kitchen? Now,
No,
tell us more about it.
No, it's interesting because, like we were discussing, we have different level of maturity of a GBS organization across different company. I was before in a session we discussed with some colleagues here, and it was interesting to see the different level of maturity, how we can drive certain decision. But it was interesting in the restaurant business because COVID was a compelling event that boosts the food delivery. And when you have 8 restaurants that all of them need to be start to have the delivery, it starts to be a little bit complicated. And then when you start to see that most of the people are ordering pizza and lasagna to get delivered at home, you said, hey, why we don't start to create a shared center, which is a dark kitchen, which is a centralized kitchen. And then we start even thinking, hey, why we don't do all the logistic of all the delivery from our supplier also in that dark kitchen. So we can create a dark kitchen that take care of doing the dough for the pizza, preparing all the dishes that require more time and so on. So in a centralized manner, and also using them for making the delivery across the city of Madrid. So it has helped. It helped for me also to say, hey, how we can do it. But you can only start when you have the right size and the right maturity to start doing this.
Fantastic. So, Jonny, lovely to get your insights. I'm sure it's adding value. Any questions we can take from the audience as we wrap up? We're going to be on time, but it's great to understand, some of these aspects. That's I know we are not on a MasterChef show. We are in a GBS and a serious.
So that we're going to cooking now something.
we will. We will. But yeah, let's hear from the audience. Any questions we're happy to take.
Thank you both for a great session. Quick question on one side. You mentioned today you're running at about 65% of your source to pay, if I'm not mistaken, being outsourced. Can you share a little bit more of what services have switched from insourcing to outsourcing and maybe a bit of the challenges that you faced throughout this process?
Yeah, no, indeed. Very good point, because when you start a partnership, you always hope that everything is great. And when we start increase the scope, we have faced issue. We had a quite of tight discussion together with Imran. Yeah, no, we had quite tight discussion there. So, but just to give you a view, that was in the area of account payable. We were just making the execution of payment that were before outsourced, and I start. No, I want to have the full process, really starting from the invoice receiving, invoice processing, and also in invoice issue resolution. So really that did the full process. So that's one thing that we have increased the process massively. If we look in the term of ordering, we also provide a limit of authority to Wipro to approve certain orders, certain requests that need to be approved before are managing to an order, only for the indirect space. So not for the direct space. For direct space, it is still managed mostly internally. So we said, hey, that's where we don't have any criticality in terms of data and so on. So if I think quite brand new scope that we moved by the 1st of March of this year, it has been all the part of buyers. For certain categories, we have decided, like we are outsourcing certain category to Amazon business, so that they take care of the category management, they take care about all the process. We also had certain category that we are managing internally that are not critical, or where we are not relevant in the market. I said, okay, I prefer to hand that over to Wipro, so that our strategic sourcing team is mainly focusing on the core categories that really are strategic for us in the procurement. So it is from a procurement space. From a travel space, we have increased massively all the activity about audit. There is no one single audit that happened in the expense claim process within Nokia. This is completely outsourced.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay. So thanks a lot, Jonny. It was great having you.
Thank you, Imran.